Welcome to Lesson 5 in Unit 21, From Sun to Food. In the previous lessons, students grew beans and sprouted plants. Their experiments showed them that plants need air, light, and water to grow. In this lesson, students will examine the bean sprouts and use visual media resources to explore uses and adaptations of plants. Students figure out that different parts of a plant each have their own structure and function, which allows plants to get the air, water, and light they need to live and grow. This lesson is approximately 2 days. At this point, you should revisit the design challenge of this unit, in which students are designing a farm that minimally impacts the natural world and still feeds people. You should check in with students to discuss what they have found over the past several lessons that could be considered as they develop their models. Ask students to turn and talk to a partner, then share out some answers to the whole class. You may want to write some of their ideas and questions on a piece of chart paper to revisit throughout the remainder of the unit. If the bean sprouts from Lesson 3 are still in usable condition, you will want to have them ready for students to view. If they are no longer usable, you may show the pictures you took of the growing sprouts, such as the image shown here. In the Engage portion of this lesson, students will work in groups to examine the different parts of the bean plants they grew for Lesson 3. Students may have questions about what they are seeing, and you may choose to chart some of them. Students may come with background knowledge of the structures and functions of different parts of a plant. In this lesson, they will build on that knowledge of structure and function to develop a deeper understanding of why plants have those structures. Depending on the amount of background knowledge they have, you may want to differentiate this lesson based on that. See mySci Unit 17 for further clarification and ideas to supplement if you notice your students need additional support. In the Explore portion of this lesson, students will discuss what they saw during the bean growth experiment. Review these questions with your students and consider using a turn and talk or another productive discussion strategy of your choice. At this point, students should be able to say that plants need air, water, and light to grow properly. Push students to provide evidence. For example, students may notice that the water pooled at the bottom of their bag and only the roots are touching the water. Next, show the video Celery Stalks. If time permits, set up an experiment similar to the one found at pbs.org called the Rainbow Celery Experiment. Refer to the curriculum for more information. If you do the experiment, you can have your students find the tubes that the water moves through. These can be easily separated, and they are known as xylem. Plants that have this tubing system are called vascular plants, and not all plants have this system. This type of system is helpful for taller plants that don't grow very close to the ground because it helps them get water. Students may also wonder if trees or other plants have vascular systems, and most do. You will need to provide the celery stalks, but all other materials should be in your kit. In the Explain portion of this lesson, read only pages 10 through 13 of the book Photosynthesis: Changing Sunlight into Food. The rest of this book will be read in the next lesson. See the Read Aloud guide on Teacher page 13 for detailed reading instructions. Read the definitions for the words structure, function, and adaptation. After the Read Aloud, watch this PBS video about plant structure with your students. After watching, ask students, can you draw a conclusion about the following question? Do plants have body systems like we do? How so? Allow students to discuss with peers, then share out. You may also want to make a connection back to 3rd grade standards in mySci Unit 14 about life cycles if your students need a reminder. In the elaborate portion of this lesson, students should have developed a firm understanding that plants have many different adaptations of plant roots, stems, and leaves. Watch this Study Jams video to learn more. For extra discussion and differentiation options, you could read Photosynthesis, Changing Sunlight into Food, pages 14 through 17. Refer to the Read Aloud Guide in the Teaching Guide for discussion tips. After you look at the Study Jams video or read the book, ask students, plants have many different shapes of roots, stems, and leaves. How do these adaptations help the plant get what it needs to live and grow? Students should be able to discuss that the roots, stems, and leaves are adapted to the environment that the plants live in. However, they still help the plant get water, air, and light to live and grow. In the Evaluate portion of this lesson, give students time to refine their pizza farm model. Students should now be able to directly show the water entering the roots, including the air, representing matter, and light, representing energy, going into the leaves. Have students turn to the plant function diagram in their science journals. Allow students to work on the diagram individually before discussing the answers as a class. This answer key is provided on Teacher Page 9. In the optional Extend activity, students will discover that plant parts are used for many different things. Explore the Supermarket Botany website at PBS Learning Media to find out some of the food uses we have for plant stems, roots, and leaves. If time allows, this can be completed as a whole group, or students can explore this individually if they have access to computers. Additionally, you may want to bring some of these foods in for students to examine. In this lesson, students examine the bean sprouts and use visual media resources to explore uses and adaptations of plants. Students figured out that different parts of a plant each have their own structure and function, which allows plants to get the air, water, and light they need to live and grow. By learning about the large-scale structures of plants, this lesson sets the stage for Lesson 6, where students will dig deeper into how plants use their structures to obtain and rearrange matter in the process of photosynthesis.